Hey, what's happening, friends? Okay, we had music, our little countdown. So fun. Welcome. So glad you are here. I am excited about this conversation today because it was inspired by one of my clients who is going through an interesting time with her team at the moment. And for those of you who are new, welcome. Come on in. Make sure that you say hello in the comments. I know most of you are at lunch, maybe perhaps watching this on your desktop, on your phones, in the office. And I'm so glad you're taking some time to join the conversation on how to boost employee morale and engagement in a world of uncertainty. And we're here again, right? Like, this isn't new to us as leaders, right? We have had to navigate through some very interesting, challenging circumstances the last few years. Today's climate, whether it is political climate, social climate, all the things that are happening around the world that are impacting our workforce here in the United States, this is a whole other level, right? This is not new to us. However, we must keep our eyes on our employee engagement. And external circumstances like these variables that I just listed are impacting our workforce. I mean, we're leaders. Let's be candid and let's be honest about what's happening right now with our teams. So many of them, just like you and I, are inundated with information, with the news, with crisis, with the political climate up ahead, right? We are in it yet again. And so, what we want to do as leaders is to not unravel the good work that we have done with our teams and our followers the last few years. We've worked really hard to get them back to a level of commitment and engagement. And we're now seeing that some teams are unraveling. Some folks are not doing very well in the workforce. Some of my leadership clients are saying, help me. I don't know what to do right now. So, the conversation we're having today is how do we boost employee morale? How do we get back to supporting our team members, to supporting our direct reports? How do we create or keep, for some of us, engaged and committed employees? Right? I think this is a very important topic because I don't want for all that good work that you've done with your teams and followers to unravel. I don't want for things to fall apart under your watch, leader. Now, listen, I am a CEO and founder, and I too am watching the signs. I'm looking for the signs of a distressed team. I'm looking for the signs of disengaged employees. I'm looking at the signs of poor quality work, of less productivity, of again disengaged employees under my watch. And the thing about us leaders is that we were hired to do primary two primary things, just two very simple things. Not easy, but simple. We were hired as leaders to solve for problems and create results. Now, how do you think you and I do that? We don't do that alone. We do that with a team. So it is our duty, it is our responsibility to keep our eye on the team's commitment and engagement levels. This is why this conversation is so important to have right now. And so I just want to share with you that it's okay to be yourself disengaged as a leader, right? You know, what impacts our employees, external circumstances, things happening around the world, things happening here in our own backyards, in our own families. If that's impacting them, know that it's impacting you too, and that's okay. And so this is going to serve to two sides of you as a leader. You personally in you internal leadership perspective and mindset, but also how do I also take care of my people? So it's taking care of you so that you can take care of your team. That's the goal here. And so if you are not keeping your eye on the team, things can unravel quickly. If you don't pay close attention to these signs, and again, these signs are low productivity, start looking at your teammates, your direct reports, start looking at decreased work quality. How about those negative attitudes? I know, again, as a CEO and founder, I have my own team to have to deal with when it comes to external circumstances and crisis that's happening around the world because it does impact how they show up in the workforce. And sometimes there are some negative attitudes that influence and inspire each other. I mean, just look at your team right now. They have different ideologies, they have different ways of looking at life, they have different values, but they're all under your leadership, under shared values. And so they have their brain, each one has their own neurology and bias and mindset and all those beautiful things that make us human. But under your direction, we have a shared values list. We move towards the goal together. We have a common goal that we want to reach, and an engaged and committed team will exceed expectations. They will have commitment to the organization and to you, leader. They will have open and effective communication. They'll have a positive attitude. Those are the results that we want to see. And so when we're dealing in a world of uncertainty, again, whether it's political, socio, world wars, religious wars, whatever it may be, know that that's impacting how they're showing up. And so now what are we responsible in doing as leaders? Well, we need to keep our eye on the engagement and commitment levels of our team members because it is our responsibility to lead the team so that we can solve for problems and create results. This is why you were hired, leader. And we do that through our team performance. So it is important that we look for those signs. And so if you are in a circumstance where you are faced with feelings of uncertainty yourself, where you are faced with disengaged behaviors because perhaps you are exhausted, leader, perhaps you are burnt out, perhaps you are stressed out, then we need to look at how to help you so that you can help your team. Right? We always serve the leader here first. We serve you first so that we can support you in serving your people. That's the goal of what we get to do in my institute. And so know that this conversation is to fulfill both sides of those needs as a leader. Number one, self first. How do I stay engaged? How do I remain productive? How can I then support my team members, my direct reports? So when the world is falling apart, I'm the anchor in the organization. I am the anchor in the department. That's the things we can't control external circumstances. We can't control what's happening outside of our organizations. And let's be real, it's not like we can really control what's happening in the workplace, but as leaders, we influence. As leaders, that is our power and authority to influence, to inspire, and to motivate our people. That's our role. So if you're not motivated and you're not inspired, your team probably isn't either. And so we have to look at the cost of disengaged leaders, the cost of disengaged employees. And according to one of the latest Gallup polls, 51% of employees are disengaged in the workplace. 51% of employees are disengaged. Now, while 13% are actively disengaged, that's like a whole other level of non-committal. Actively disengaged means just feeling miserable at work. And they're the ones, and you and I know who they are, spreading the negative attitudes and, you know, all the negativity around. They're the ones that are spreading it all. Those are the 13% that are actively disengaged, and 51% are disengaged. Are you one of the 51% that's disengaged? Perhaps you're one of the 13% that are actively disengaged. You are miserable at work. So those are two levels of disengagement that are very serious to look at. And so again, what are those signs that you need to keep your eye on your team members, on your direct reports? Start looking for those who are not producing the quality work that you hired them to do. They're experts in their roles, but they've checked out. The whole quiet quitting is a real thing, my friends. Start looking at those on the team who have shifted into a negative attitude. Maybe their personality used to be bubbly and happy and they would come to work and now they're not so much. Start looking at your team members who have an increased absenteeism. They're the ones calling in sick several times a month. What's going on under the surface? What is really the root cause of this? Are they disengaged? How about those that have poor or ineffective communication? These are people who, I know a few of I've experienced this, not with my current team, but I have experienced employees who, will send me a one word answer on an email where before they'd have a, full description of solving this problem. And now it's just one word. No more communication from my team. They don't want to text. They don't want to, communicate anymore. So start looking at the signs of a disengaged, uncommitted workforce. So again, we want to exceed expectations with our teams. We want our teammates to be committed to the organization as much as we are as leaders. We want to have these open and effective communication skills with each other. We want to be able to be transparent and vulnerable and more importantly, have psychological safety in the workplace, right? These are the things that we leaders are responsible in doing with our teams. So this is on you, dear leader. And so it's important that we also talk about the cost of disengagement. And in that same study, companies in the US lose between 450 to 550 billion dollars each year due to disengaged workers. So why are they disengaged? Why are they no longer committed? You hired them, they went through a hiring process with you. They were excited. They seemed committed. They seemed inspired and excited. And you were too, as their leader, right? You chose the best, most qualified person in that pool. And then they come in, they start churning out work, they start engaging in their work, and then something happens. Could be the external circumstances we're all living through right now, or it could also very well be something personal they're experiencing. I mean, you take your heart and your brain everywhere you go, just like you and I, leader, right? What impacts us in our personal lives certainly impacts us in the workplace. And for those of us out here who think that we can compartmentalize all of this pain and suffering that we're feeling in our personal lives, I I'm going to have to disagree with you because the neuroscience shows you take your brain and your heart everywhere and your nervous system everywhere you go. And so trust me, it'll seep into your leadership practice if we're not handling what's happening in our personal lives. And so if that's true for us, then of course it's true for our people. Of course it's true for our employees. And so again, it is our responsibility to do what is in our power and in our authority to create engaged and committed employees. And so I just want for you to take a moment, evaluate your team's performance right now. Start looking at your direct reports with an individual lens. Don't clump them all into one giant mass. They're not. Each one has individual qualities and strengths that we want to keep cultivating and that we want to nourish. And so, who on your team right now are showing signs of disengagement? And let's be honest, are you disengaged yourself? Are you doing everything right now to boost employee morale and engagement? What are you doing? And if you are taking action, post them in the comments because I definitely want to see more of what you're doing because we can all learn from one another. So Before we move into some practical strategies that I want to share with you today, I just want to introduce myself very quickly. I am Dr. Denise Simpson. I am so excited to be here with you to talk about this very important conversation, this very important topic. And the reason why it is so near and dear to my heart is because this is my focus of research: engaged and committed employees. I help leaders do what they need to do to support their teammates. Because again, you cannot do leadership without your team. And if we focus and we commit ourselves to creating a department, a team of highly engaged and highly performed employees, then we exceed expectations. And leader, this is your responsibility. And so it is my focus, my primary focus. And it's something that I've done a great amount of research in. It initially started as part of my dissertation journey many moons ago. And it has continued to be a primary focus in my research company because engaged and committed employees is how we meet our goals as leaders. And the research that's out there is so great. There's plenty of evidence to show that an employee's commitment and engagement levels are directly correlated to your leadership style. Yikes. So if an employee is leaving the organization or is not happy or is disengaged, it's more than likely your leadership style. That's the research. I know these are some hard facts, but this is why this focus of research is number one on my list, and it's what I continue to do today, and what I continue to help my clients with. And so now I want to get into another reason why this topic is so important to me and to many of you out here. So I have a client who is a university administrator here in Austin, and there's some interesting things happening right now on these campuses. And you may have seen the news and you probably have seen the protests out here. And, we've been working together less than a year now. And she came to me and said, I'm under a lot of pressure. I just, I, you know, I don't believe that my staff is serving our students right now because they are unraveling. By the way, that's where I got the word unravel from her. We're all unraveling. We're all really stressed out. We're getting ready for graduation in May. We don't even know we're going to have a ceremony. It's just, it's interesting times. And so she had asked for us to talk about some strategies and some ways to support her. And of course, in a coaching session, I immediately go to her, the source, the leader, because I want to serve her first so that she can then go and serve her professors and her professional and classified staff. And so I wanted to make sure that we took care of her first. And so in our session, I asked her, why don't you tell me about your engagement levels? How committed are you right now? And she said, "I gotta be honest, I'm not. I'm exhausted. I too am burnt out. I'm under so much pressure. There's so much going on campus. There's just added things that we didn't foresee us having to deal with, especially, at this time of the semester, moving into graduation." She said, "I've checked out and I want to check back in." And so I have to ask you the same question, leader. Where are your energy reserves? Right. And when I look at energy reserves, I'm looking at gauges. I'm looking at the levels in each of these gauges, right? I'm looking at your mindset. I want to know, where are you in this current climate, under these current circumstances, with what's happening in the world right now, present day. And so she was very honest. I've checked out, but I got to check back in. This is my work. And then we also looked at, well, what skills have you noticed a gap in? That's the second gauge. And she said, "Well, I gotta tell you something, like, communication skills for me right now are curt, they're short. I'm probably not, I'm not being thorough. I'm we're all surviving and communication is falling short." And I said, okay, tell me more. What other voids, what other gaps are you seeing right now in your skills and your team? And so we went on to coach on some of those skills. And then we talked about strategy and tactics. I said, okay, let's look at the third gauge. Tell me, what's the level in that gauge? Your strategy. And she says, uh, it's primal right now. We're all trying to survive and we're all trying to get these kids to graduate. And we're all, we're trying to get through what's happening physically here on campus and all the other pressures we're having. Um, Strategies is primal right now. I thought, wow, we're out in the wilderness. I love this so much. Just kidding. But listen, these are the three things that you want to look at for yourself too, leader: your mindset, your skill set, and the strategy that you're taking right now in these uncertain times. And so I just want to also share with you that she and I talked at nauseum about resilience, grit and resilience, which is something that Dr. Angela Duckworth talks a lot about because she wrote a New York Times bestseller on that. And we talked about her resiliency and the grit that she has. And according to Angela Duckworth, her work, she defines grit as a combination of passion and perseverance for one important goal. And so I reminded her of what that goal was. And so we talked again. I was going to say ad nauseum, and yes, it was this passion and perseverance that she has for higher education, for being an administrator at some of the highest levels of a university. And I said, we need to serve our students first, right? This is priority. This is their goal. They are our stakeholders, they are our clients, and we need to make sure that the team remains with resiliency and grit, more importantly, because these uncertain times call for grit and resiliency. So let me remind you of that too. Look at your current circumstances. Right? If you've checked out, you have disengaged, then how do we find that resiliency again? How do we then look at your intersection, right? Or the combination is what Angela says, Duckworth, the passion and perseverance for a singular important goal. Check back in with that grit, leader. Check back in with your resiliency. And trust me, we've been through some really hard times the last few years with the pandemic and many other things, and the great resignation and the great breakup that we saw in the workplace. We've seen a lot. And so you have stood the test of time. You're still here. And it's important that we check back in with our own grit and resiliency. And so take that with you today as you are evaluating your team and the circumstances that you are under right now. So let's talk a little bit about this power and authority that you have. And I know you take this very, very seriously. You are a leader who cares deeply. You are a leader who does not want to fail your people. So here's what I want for you to do: you're going to take some notes. And if you're watching the replay, um, or you're watching this on the way home or wherever you are, as soon as you can, take pen and paper out, because I want for you to take down some of these tactics that I'm going to share with you so that you can implement at least one thing. Why? Because you care deeply about your people, because you want to be a better leader, because you want to show up for them, because you understand what they're going through as well. Because if you're feeling disconnected, disengaged, then more than likely they are too. Listen, that's the thing: is leadership is all about relationships. The relationship you have, number one, with yourself, and the relationship that you have with your staff. And so you are responsible for doing this good work. And you've done a great job. But I don't want for it to unravel because you can't control external circumstances. So, pen and paper out if you'd like. So, just some very, very simple tactics. Number one, I want for you, if you're not doing this yet, do some regular check ins. Now, a lot of you are hybrid, a lot of you are remote employees. And so I think it's important to perhaps do some coffee chats to stay connected. But the point here is to be visible. Th- Sometimes that's all an employee needs. Oh, she's here and she cares. Right? So try to schedule as many as you can during the week, and especially for those that are disengaged, your direct reports who are not showing commitment anymore, who are have quiet quit perhaps. Those are the ones that maybe you're going to want to meet with more often than not. The second thing I want for you to consider is transparent communication. If you're not doing that, just like my client mentioned to me, that's a skill that they're not using fully right now because of the pressure and the high stakes that they're under right now. And so she said communication is out the window. Well, how about we bring that back to the forefront? How about then you, through these regular check-ins with your people, you have these transparent communication conversations where it's as simple as, how are things going? I noticed that you missed the deadline on this project. Is there something that we could have done to have avoided that from happening? Or what resources do you need to be able to meet that deadline this next go round? And so simple, transparent communication where they know you know, where they know you've noticed the signs, they know that you are very interested in helping them. That's transparent communication. We're all on the same page. The third thing I want for you to consider is flexibility in some of their schedules. And I know some of you are locked in on working in the office, while others are a little more flexible. And I want for you to consider having flexible working hours for your people. This again, so much support out there on mental health and well-being right now, and especially right now in these uncertain times. You're going to want to do anything in your power, whatever's within your power, to offer these supportive environments. And sometimes single parents, breadwinners, some folks are needing to be in the home and still be productive, right? By the way, there's plenty of research that shows that just because you work from home doesn't mean productivity levels decrease. I know a lot of employers out here think that it does, and it doesn't according to the research. And so, what's within your power to offer flexible work schedules? My entire team works 100% online. We don't need a building to be productive and to perform at our highest levels. Well, that's unnecessary for us. And so I have learned how to find ways to support them virtually. And trust me, it is much easier than you think it is. And so that's the third tactic that I want for you to consider. How can you empower your employees with flexibility? Number four, how about recognizing and rewarding some folks on your team? When's the last time you did that? And if it's been a while, then I think now is the time to do that. Will you acknowledge their efforts visibly and frequently in front of your team, in front of the entire team? It feels so good to be appreciated. I mean, that's all we want in essence, is to be seen and to be heard and to try to be understood. And so your employees are wanting the same. So recognizing and rewarding them often and visibly is going to be important. And the last thing I'm going to share with you, skill development. This is why I asked my client, let's look at those three gauges: mindset, skill set, and strategy. Where are you on those energy reserves? And so, skill development is going to be important. Provide them the resources for personal and professional growth. Right, because when an external circumstance like the world wars that we are seeing right now on television, the protests on our campuses and other areas, we are seeing people who are convicted. They are focused on these efforts. And so if your employee is wanting conviction, wanting to focus on a goal, Perhaps there's a big void in that, and perhaps they haven't been able to do professional personal development because they're so busy working for you. You have them so busy and productive. What if they are wanting something more? I have a client who says, learn. Her number one value is education and development. And she makes sure that in her budget, her team members, her direct reports all have access to professional and personal development opportunities. And so this is how we show our employees we care. I care. And I want you to grow and evolve and develop, yes, even right here in this organization. And so some of your employees may not see a way vertically up, but perhaps by showing that you care about their professional evolution, their career journey, that shows that you care. And this is part of creating committed and engaged people. This is what we want as leaders. And so those again are 5 very simple tactics that you can implement right away. Regular check-ins, number 1, transparent communication, number 2, empowering them through flexible work hours, and then number 4, recognition and reward, and let's not forget number 5, skill development. So those are again 5 very simple tactics to implement right away. And so take one of those and implement it right away. And so I want to encourage you, dear leader, to keep your eye on the prize, meaning keep your eye on your team. These are the people that we have hired, that we believe in. We saw their credentials, we believe in their potential, and we hired them to do these jobs. We've hired them to be a part of our team. And so it is on you to provide them with the support and the resources. And when you do that, and when you show them that you care, this is where we create an engaged and committed workforce. So I thank you so very much for your time. Please know that you're not alone. You're not alone. You have us here at the Institute, myself and my team, to support you and your efforts on your journey of leadership. I also would like to invite you to join my newsletter, our newsletter that we do every single week. And let me show you. There it is, drdenisesimpson.com/leadership. So, dear leader, I know that we shared a lot today. And I know that we are living through some very interesting times yet again. But know that you're doing a great job. So if no one has told you in a while that you're amazing, you are. You stepped up to the plate. And I believe in your leadership potential. I believe in your intent to create powerful employees, powerful direct reports. I believe in you and your efforts, and know that we are here to support you. So join the newsletter, drdenisesimpson.com/leadership, and make sure you post a comment or question below so that we can answer it right away. All right, leaders, have a wonderful rest of your day. And I'll see you next Wednesday at 2 p.m. Central Time, right here where you're watching this live episode. Take good care.